Hi everyone, welcome to Dave's Bonsai. On today's episode, it's the variegated Benjamina ficus forest. It's kind of a mouthful. The trees have been in the plant room for several weeks now, and I slowly but surely pluck out a tree or two here and there to work on for multiple reasons. One, I haven't worked on it for a while. I can give it a little bit of a haircut. Two, it'll make it easier to water in the plant room. And if I haven't said this multiple times in the last few videos, let me repeat myself, that if you don't make a plant room, or you don't make a cold frame, if you don't make an area for shelving your bonsai that's easily accessible when you have multiple bonsai, you don't take as good of care of that tree, perhaps. Maybe you don't check it as closely. Maybe you can't water it as well. Maybe you don't take that extra time to rotate things around. So it's a good time for me to work on this. The trees have all settled in. Very little effects of the transition this year with this one. You can see a couple of yellow leaves right here. That one turned yellow, this one fell off, this one fell off, you know. So there are a couple of leaves, but relatively little upsetness of this tree. So earlier this summer, I was able to add a couple more trees to this forest to make it just a little bit thicker. And I'm really happy that I did that. We've got this tree back here that I really like. It's a skinnier tree, kind of in that background, and it's closer to this tree, so we don't have really exact gaps between our trees. Still, one of the biggest issues with people who are new to bonsai, myself included when I make my forest plantings, is we tend to separate the trees too much and don't have enough differential trunks, the differential spacing, the differential in each tree, right? They're all too similar. Now, of course, in forests, we have a lot more straight up trees, so we're not looking for quite as much movement. But I like how I added the trees to this one to make it a little bit more robust. Now, it is kind of bulging out of the pot a little bit. I've noticed when I brought it in, it was like, man, that's really a mound of dirt. So we'll see when we do our next repotting if we can get into the next size, bigger pot, give it a little bit more room to breathe, and then we can also make sure the mound isn't quite so hefty. I've left the rocks in there because it was replanted this year again, and I don't believe I put any wires in there, and so they could probably come off now, and we can just have our trees. Now, since we're indoors, and we're not going to get the real harsh drying from the sun and the wind outside, I could even maybe take this sphagnum moss off, but I'm going to let that keep this tree nice and moist and keep that humidity level a little bit higher because of all that extra moisture. So this is, I believe, the back of the forest. We have this main prominent tree right up, kind of front and almost front and center right here. I think what I will do right away, though, is perhaps I will take away some of the sphagnum moss and some of this dried up fertilizer away from the base of some of these trees. We don't want moss typically on our deciduous trees, on the trunks of many of our trees in general, because that's going to create just too much moisture. Too much moisture. I will take off some of this stuff. And so just give this a little bit of a cleaning job here. Go down to the soil and get rid of some of the sphagnum moss around the base trunk of these trees. And again, I took the rocks off. I think the roots have probably established themselves pretty well now in this design. There we go. I think I got a root growing up right into the sphagnum moss there. So if you can see that right there, there's a root growing right there. So that's one of the things that the sphagnum moss on the surface of the plantings can create a little bit more of the surface roots. Look at that. I got a root system right there too. There you go. See that? That's growing from one of the trees all the way over to across the other tree. So, got to be careful with that thickness of that sphagnum moss, because yeah, it's creating all this this traveling huge mega roots here. There we go. we'll let that grow back more down, not up. And so we'll clean off some of this extra sphagnum moss. I took off a fair amount of the sphagnum moss layer, made it much thinner. We've exposed some of the bottoms of these trunks, so we got a good 1/2 inch more exposed roots now, more exposed trunk on these trees because I had that much sphagnum moss in here. I love this front tree, how it's kind of got a little bit of that swerve right there at the bottom. See the nice little spread right there? Hopefully it'll continue to spread out in front here. Yeah, looking nice. Yeah, a lot of roots in here that went up into the sphagnum moss. So this tree has been growing real healthy this late summer and early fall with that sphagnum moss, keeping things nice and moist for it. So it really liked that. And you have to be careful when you water trees like this too, so the water doesn't just run right off over the pot. All right, so let's take a peek at a couple of things we can maybe get down a little bit smaller. This one's a little bit wobbly when I was working on it. And here's a root from that right there sticking up in the air. So it's kind of up in the air. So what we're probably going to do is go ahead and replace one of these rocks so we can go ahead and make sure that that does not go anywhere that we don't want it to go. So we'll stuff that in there just a little bit, down on the lip of that pot. There we go. And then that'll give it a little bit more stability as it finishes getting more deeper root stability. All right, so we can cut that one up first. So it's just kind of coming out here. It fills up the canopy of this forest real nice, and it's hollow here so it doesn't interfere with that tree. But we're going to go ahead and just give it a little bit of a haircut right there. Go a little bit shorter. I think I'll take this one back just a little bit as well. And we're going to come down here and have it continue to grow outward. This is got a new branch down below. Some new buds down below, so this will just continue to grow. It'll look very, very similar, I would imagine, in a couple more months. So there's that bottom tree. We've got a little bit of a dead section in here. We'll go ahead and cut that off. We'll cut that off. And there's the bottom tree. It's just kind of growing at a nice fun little angle here. Nice little movement. It is the edge of the tree, so it's reaching out for the sun. So I like that in this part of the tree. I'm going to cut this inside a little tiny branch off, and I'm going to cut this inside down here off. And one more there. So we'll stop right there for now, and we'll see what else comes off on these trees. So that's that little one on the front left side. Let's do the little one on the front right, which is not quite as little. This one actually has done really well and poofed out real nice. You see this one coming from the other tree. We're going to for sure cut that one shorter eventually, so let's just cut that off right now so it's out of our way over here. And this one I'm just going to go ahead and come down and make it a little bit shorter. We're going to look at these trees, and we want them to grow up as much as they can. I think we'll change the direction of this growth just a little bit, so we cut it down to a leaf that's coming out more backwards instead of this way. So this piece of growth here is looking nice and healthy. We'll cut that off for the shorter, smaller branches for future growth. This is kind of a tangly tree up here. We got a lot of no-nos in bonsai anyway. If you were to cut this one off, that would open up some of that a little bit. So let's cut that off. And there's about, if you look in here, we got this main branch right here. It splits right here, and here's the nice Y split here. It splits into here, but it splits into 3, so it's a little thick in there. So again, if I cut the inside one off, there we go. Now we have these two going up, and then this one is a secondary branch. And I'm going to cut this way back to here, and we'll continue to promote this one right here for a little bit longer. And I'll go down one more leaf, and we'll just leave that there for now. And so then we got these two long, big branches growing up here. I like how it's coming up now for some height, so I'll cut this off. That's going to the left. This is a little bit long to the left right now, but that's a little bit more reasonable right in there. It's nice and airy. We've cut off some of the height of that tree in multiple locations. These ficus trees, the Benjaminas in particular, have a lot of those spots where you have a branch already, but then you have more leaves trying to go right from where the branch is. Now you can keep that so you have taper eventually, but for right now, I always consider it taking up some of the energy that I want on the branches to gain. So I'm going to take that off. Now this grows down into the trunk, so let's cut that off right here. And now we're left with a pretty nice airy tree here. It's a little bit two-dimensional this way, flat this way, but in the forest in the back, look at that nice design that we can see now. We can see this branch kind of coming up and over. This whole tree section goes over there, and we're looking pretty good. I think looking at it this way, we want to go like that, and we want to make one more shorter here. And let's go one more shorter here and let that thing take off in the plant room. So we have a nice little shaped tree there. Maybe we'll take this one down one more too. Whoops, that one didn't cut quite as smoothly. There we go. Now we have a tree that'll just kind of perk up, and our two small ones are done. So let's cut up this one next. We did our two sides. We're going to take our main tree here, and we'll design the forest based on what we see with the main trunk. Now we're losing some bifurcation down low. We've got this really interesting kind of funky trunk here that goes up. Here's a very nice primary branch, but look at how thick this one is up here. And then the main trunk is this way and kind of comes up over here. So there was a major chop back here at one point. And this has nice movement up this way. I just would love to have a couple branches down lower here to fill this tree out on this side down over here. So that might happen as we cut this back here and hope for some back budding. So let's cut this one shorter. It's certainly an aggressive part of this tree, love and life. So we'll just cut some of this back, and we'll hopefully hope that we get some really good back budding on this tree down in those spots that I wanted. I'm going to cut this one really short there and promote this branch down here more. I'll cut that here. We have kind of a stub back here I'm going to go ahead and get rid of. There we go. That's shot back in the back of the tree. And so we got this long one here as well. We can cut that shorter. We can cut this down shorter, the tip off. And then we have this side over here to contend with. But there's the tree right there. So not too bad. We didn't cut too much of the big tree off yet, so we're going to continue to give it kind of a haircut in general. Get this one a little bit shorter. I think that has to go shorter even still. This one out front, I'm going to go a little bit shorter. Take this leaf off because it's kind of coming right at us. There we go. This one can be shorter. There we go. And so we have this big part of the tree over here. We have these two trunks, and this is actually thicker than this, so we almost look like we're developing reverse taper. I love these branches over here, but we got to cut that one off to allow more light in here to get these branches to continue to grow. So this is forming a nice little pad out here. It's kind of that nice flat pad, and then we can hope that these can continue to grow. This one's growing back out to the back of the forest. We don't want that one. This one's kind of more up into the back, but more up, so we're going to keep it. We're just have this weird one going to the left. We're going to cut off. I think we can go one more shorter with this one. I think this one, I think we're going to cut it and hope for some back budding here. This one in the back, I'm just going to get shorter. So again, here's our tree. Super short and stout now. And we just have to decide how much will I cut this to promote the back budding. And we don't want this one to grow too ferociously. We want this one to shoot out big time to get really thick to make this look more natural down the road. And we don't typically like to make big chops on our Benjaminas. So these are just littler chops. We got plenty of growth back there. Again, hoping for some back budding. Gonna chop this one again there. We can chop this tip off there. Oops. And we got lots of little branches wanting to become the big tree. A leaf going on the inside. So we cut most of that off there. So that should slow this down a little bit. I think we can cut this off too. And we can kind of see where that's going to go. This might have to be chopped, but I think I'll wait until we have more of the, I think we'll wait until summer prune to get that down lower. This is the main trunk of the tree. This would be a primary branch. Then this has to slow way down for this one. I could try it now here in the plant room and give it a chop right here and see if we get some back budding back in here. I'm not sure I want to do that today. So we'll just make this back one a little bit shorter. And I think that tree for now is going to be good. We cut a lot off here, pretty aggressive. I think I'm even going to cut this off here. And we're going to let this shoot out here in the plant room and hope that gets really thick and we can keep this. And we can keep trimming this to keep it smaller too as more leaves come out. We can trim it, and just leave this one go. Okay, so left, right, and center. Now we have 4 back in the middle for a total of 7 trees on this nice forest. So this tree has this Y split here, so kind of a primary branch here, and the main trunk continues this way, but then this one kind of comes right in our face. So I think it's time we adjust this a little bit right here. We're going to cut that off, and now that branch takes over, and it's not quite as much in our face, and that'll be really nice. Just a little bit more. We can see that tree going up. I'm going to cut it way shorter though too. And then we have 3 leaves out here. We'll just cut it down to 2. Okay, so that's that big branch. Still kind of in our face here where the cut is, but that'll go away. We'll cut off the nub later on, and then this could become a new branch. Or this one is a really nice one as well. There's a real thick one in back too, but we might favor it for these moving forward. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this back off a little bit steeper right off the get-go, because we don't want some of this growth. I like this branch in the back. See this branch right here? That's kind of a nice branch. This one's kind of going too much over that way, so I'm going to cut this off and promote this guy out here going this way. So I'll cut off this inside branch. So this is a nice little back branch for depth of field too, so that's kind of nice. Oh, we lost one of our lights. Okay, so we can see all the height from the back here. It makes it a little bit easier to go ahead and trim down. We'll trim these down a little bit further. Again, I like this one coming out this way for a little bit. We've got some clogged up stuff in here. Got an old stub I can cut out right there. And so, looking at the front, that one's okay. We'll get rid of this leaf right here because it's a little bit more aggressive towards the front. This one I'm going to go ahead and cut shorter so it's growing more up. And these two are competing against each other, so I'll just cut that off here. So let's go ahead and cut that right there in support of this branch right there. So we're going to cut this one down for sure in size. It's a little bit too big. There we go, we cut that off. And so from the front, there's that back branch right there that I really like, and it's kind of really nice movement. And I could almost chop this one right here, and I think I would like this tree, but I like these branches as the leader branch. So I think that might be time for one of our bigger chops today. So I think we're going to do that. We're going to go ahead and cut off this big branch back here. There we go. Yeah. And so this is still the main trunk. We've got some movement here, but this branch in the back could become a new leader of that tree. We're going to go ahead and cut this wound a little bit tighter here. This particular Benjamina has been pretty slow to heal with past cuts on this particular species. This was one tree that I got from a box store, and I have all of these trees. These are all cuttings from the tree. I think I had 3 trees to begin with maybe. So I like that right now for the future of this tree to kind of see where it's going to maybe go. I think this is going to go right here next. And if I cut it now, the sore is in our face. This is a sore that's healing pretty good right now. This is the thickest part of the tree though, so I really should slow it down. I wonder if I should cut that today. You know what? Let's be bold. I don't like how thick it is above. We're just going to cut it off right there. So we'll cut that right there. Clean it up just a little bit. And there we go. All right. So now we still have this kind of Y here, but I don't want to cut one or the other off and have it go too much this way at the moment. So I'm going to leave this here to see if this back branch right here can become more the leader of the tree. And there's our taper. We have a wider trunk, gets a little thinner here and here, and then there's that. And so this is a really nice moving branch, but I would certainly love to have a branch come off this way for a split here. It must have been a chop because it was just too thick and we thinned it out. But now this is catching up. And you know what? This is getting so thick. Let's go ahead and cut that off in favor of this guy right here and the ones back here, and we'll see what that can bring us. Okay, that one chipped off. So we'll cut it off and let's get this one shorter. There we go. That's a pretty big chop right there. We cut a lot off of that tree. We left more on the front one. This one's a little bit weaker, but that's okay. This is going to be in the comfort of the plant room for a long, long time. I think we're okay. Let's shift over to the tree back there now. It has a big ugly scar in the front, but it's slowly starting to heal. We got this branch coming from this tree, really out of whack over here. Can we even see that branch? We certainly can, but let's just cut it here and hope we get some back budding, because that's just crisscrossing too many things. Let's see if we can get a branch to grow back towards the back. Now that's the real close one to this branch right here, so let's go ahead and get rid of those that are crossing that tree. Remember I said I like the closeness of those two trees? When you look at the front of this tree, I love the closeness of that, but we want a little bit more leaves over here now. I made that cut because the leaves were way too far out here, so we'll see if we get some back budding there. And then these trees are kind of competing with each other, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this thick one off right there. And I'm going to cut this shorter right here. We're going to cut this shorter right here. Cut this right there. And we bring it around to the front so you can see this kind of taper here. We're going to cut these shorter. This tree right here, this branch is going to compete with that other one, so we're going to cut that off. So it's got some damage on there, but again, hopefully that'll all heal in time. We got this stump we can kind of get rid of now to make that a little bit better looking. There we go. That'll look better in time. This is also a stump. That'll look better in time. But the future of this tree really is right here. So we're hoping that's going to grow up. So let's force it to grow more up by cutting that off back there. We can also cut this little tiny leaf right up here. And we can cut this off right here and promote the upward direction. So that's kind of a sideways branch right now, but if we can get that to now curve up a little bit and go more up, that'll be nice. Now we can get rid of maybe this big thick branch goes for this one back here if we can get some more back budding on that branch. So we left that. Let's go down even further. And let's just leave that for right now. Getting pretty thin there. Then the next tree behind, right next to it here, is all full thick up here. We'll get rid of that. We'll get rid of this. Got an inside kind of scraggly branch going wiggly. This one's going back towards the front and really just not in a good place. So that's really nice and thin now. Okay, it's got a leaf going in this way. Leaf going that way, we'll just cut that off. And then we're going to make this even more to the right by cutting off the section to the left there. So very stick of a tree, but it's starting to grow up right here, if you can see that through the trees. Some fun movement on those branches, and it's growing up this way, so we're going to promote that height versus length. So we're going to cut this back for it to go back in that other direction. All right. Then we got this last big one, which is leaning pretty heavily to the right, which is okay based on how the forest is right now. We're going to go ahead and cut off some of these branches and promote more back budding again. We got a couple of thick branches here. We got to put on some good thickness on these new branches. They really kind of shut up towards the end of the year. So after we cut all these back, there we go. There's most of it. Let's see what we have to work with here. We got this funky branch that has this branch here that's already crisscrossing on its own. So we're going to take the inside branch right out, promote the outside leaves. This one's growing inside and kind of at us from back there. So is this one. We'll get rid of those two. And now as a solo tree, it's really nice and hollow, or it's really hollow and probably not the most attractive, but inside this forest right now, it's not too terrible. We're going to cut this whole thick one off. Okay, we're cutting these definitely thinner today. I'm going to go this way to promote out in the back. So what do we have here? We got this coming right at us. Let's get rid of that one. Got one more yellow leaf hide in there. A couple of dead pieces. So this forest has lost about 75% of its foliage. It's indoors. The only thing I don't like about this tree now is it's a little bit thick up top. So we've got some taper from the bottom up to here, and then it tapers there, but then here we got this section that's a little bit too long right here on one side. So we're gonna go ahead and take this off right here and promote that growth over there. So now we have, this is a really good example of taper for everybody. So here we go. We have thick trunk down here. We have thinner right here after this branch. We have a little bit of a nub right there, thinner right there, and then thinner way up there. And we hope that that survives. It's a little bit weak of a branch, but it is at the top of the tree. We'll hope that that shoots out some wonderful things for us. So there we have the variegated Ficus benjamina forest. Give it a 360 for you. We do have a little bit of a thinness in the forest here. Nothing back here, nothing up here. We could add another tree or two later if we get a bigger pot next year and have a couple more ficus to add to this. It could be kind of fun. But right now, there we go. We've got our 7-tree forest very opened up. We've got better taper on the trees. We'll see what we're going to do with that front one down the road because that one has the most thick. I'm not sure what we're going to do with that one. But everything else is looking really good. I'm very happy with the outcome. I'm loving the light gray, pasty white, light gray trunks on these right now. They're starting to mature. I've had them for a few years and they're starting to take shape. So there it is, the variegated benjamina ficus forest. And here we have our update for today. Super excited to share with you all what's going on with the Thanksgiving cactus. Now, of course, the downside of what you're looking at is that it's only November 3rd when I'm recording this video. Thanksgiving is a few weeks away, a couple of weeks away, and we've got a lot of blooms. So I updated you a couple of weeks ago and we talked about all the tiny blooms on every branch everywhere. And as you can see, they have started to open up. So let's do the 360 for the Thanksgiving cactus. That is really looking quite lovely with all the different colors. We've got the buds that are a little bit of a shade of purple. We've got the flowers that are opening up now that have that white and red. Red is the main flower. Look at how long those buds are. A couple on that. This is the back side here. No, this is actually the front. So that's the front of the tree. A lot of buds to go. I'll keep showing updates on this as we go before we trim it up for the winter season. So there was the full circle. But again, that could be a front. It's not horrible, but this, I believe, has been the proposed front for as long as I can remember. There we have our update for today. The Thanksgiving cactus looking awfully pretty in the plant room. I hope there's some buds left in a couple of weeks for the centerpiece on the Thanksgiving table. I am so pleased with all of the buds on the Thanksgiving cactus. So once again, I brought this in, I kept it in a darker room, I kept it cooler, and I didn't water it as much, and it worked this year. Some of the tips, go back and watch one of the other episodes of the Thanksgiving cactus. I'll put a link up here, up in the corner here, for the episode that talks about all these tips and where I learned them from. So it's worked out really, really well this year. Super thick and robust, and we'll do a great big chop here, probably the first part of December after the holiday. We'll see how long it lasts. I'm loving it. Is it a bonsai tree? Look at that hard woody trunk right there. And then we've got a flowering tree, and yeah, those aren't looking like leaves per se, but a fun specimen regardless. Super pretty. Love to have it in the plant room. Hey, that's going to wrap it up. Thank you for joining me. Take care of you. Take care of your bonsai, and we're going to see you very soon on the next one.